In June this year, the head of Kazakhstan's sovereign wealth fund was telling Reuters about the fund's plans to sell off stakes in some of the country's key firms. Earlier this month, the fund lifted its holding in Kazakh copper miner Kazakhmys and talked about creating national champions to compete with the world's best companies. So are these contradictory strategies? Well, to help answer that, we're joined live in London by Samruk-Kazyna's chief executive, Kairat Kelimbetov, who's coming to us live from our Westminster studio. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Kelimbetov. Just first of all, you've mentioned both things, both selling off assets and raising stakes in national champions. Is there a contradiction here? How do you see the strategy yourself?
Actually, the strategy of Fund Samruk-Kazyna is to create new assets in terms of the diversification program of the government. So we have in government hands some national industrial and infrastructure companies in oil and gas area, in mining, in uranium area. And the idea is to improve the corporate governance inside the company, maybe through the IPO procedures, also to develop non-oil subsectors of our economy. So in order to do it, we create the special sovereign wealth fund, which called Samruk-Kazyna. We are analog of the Singaporean Temasek. We are in the early stage of development of our assets, but I think our companies became significant leaders in particularly sectors like oil and gas, uranium, and mining.
So presumably this process includes, as you're outlining, privatization. Which companies do you see being privatized first? Do you have a schedule for that?
We have ideas maybe of IPO of some companies which belong to the Samruk-Kazyna fund. So we are thinking about the oil and gas area. We have a national company, Kazmunaygas, and I think even in some 5 years period, so in order to develop the investment program, which is very ambitious, more than $20 billion, so we will need investors, and we are very much looking for the experience of Petrobras, which was whose IPOs was recently done, and I think this is a good example for Kazakhstan, which we try to follow.
So you could be selling stakes in key sectors. Now, would you retain overall stake control there? How large a stake would you sell?
Coming back to the oil and gas sector, so you probably know the policy of the president of Kazakhstan from the beginning was to bring foreign direct investors, and we have American, European, Chinese, Russian, Middle East investors in Kazakhstan, and we also have a national oil and gas company. So if we will think about privatization of oil and gas companies, so probably at the beginning we will think about 10, 15, 20%, but I think this will be just the beginning of this process.
Okay. Now, presumably you could raise potentially quite large stakes from these sums. What would you do with that money? How would you be looking to reinvest it?
You probably know we have an ambitious diversification program in Kazakhstan. So we would like to develop non-oil subsectors of our economy. I am first of all talking about the mining. I'm talking about metallurgy, chemical industry, and also atomic energy industry as well. So in order to develop it, we need investment. So if we will get some particular money through let's say through borrowing or through IPO or through FDI, we definitely invest them to these particular sectors.
There were some Chinese media reports last weekend that the Kazakh miner ENRC is considering listing in Hong Kong. Can you confirm that? Is that correct?
Recently was a visit of Prime Minister of Kazakhstan, so in order to develop cooperation between Hong Kong Financial Center and between investment companies in Kazakhstan. NRC is one of the London stock exchange listed company. We have shares like Samruk-Kazyna over there. So we are thinking also about cooperation with Hong Kong, but I think it will be, we will discuss it this particular deal next year.
Just finally, just looking at your country's currency, and I think Citibank has seen quite an appreciation in the currency versus the dollar in 2011. How concerned are you about that hitting growth?
So we have a stable exchange rate policy, and it was some devaluation last year because it was the economic crisis, which is suffered through two channels to Kazakhstan. One is a decrease in the price for oil and gas, and the second is lack of access to the Western financial markets. But I think right now the situation with the exchange rate is more and less stable, and we have a very strong central bank, and I think so we will manage this policy, sound macroeconomic policy, right way.
Kairat Kelimbetov, thank you very much for joining us today with those insights.
Thank you for inviting me.
That's it for now. We'll be back with more coverage of the UK spending review later today. We'll see you then. I'm Steve Clark. This is Reuters.